Hey, Benji, you know we actually have a sponsor this week?
What's the sponsor this week?
The sponsor this week is Benji is better at curling than me.
Oh, tell me more about the sponsor.
You beat me at
I
curling.
beat you at curling, and as a result, you had to on the podcast say that I'm better at curling than you.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, everybody, to the DCOM Duo podcast.
Benji.
I'm Kelsey.
This is the DCOM Duo Podcast, reporting from the year 1918. World War II just ended. No, wait, World War I. Got the timing wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know why we were doing these old-timey voices. We didn't coordinate on this at all. I don't even know if that's really an old-timey voice.
It's probably just a really bad impression of an old-timey voice for both of us.
And this has really not much to do with the movie, but maybe some, because it is about time travel.
Kind of.
I mean, it is explicitly a time machine movie.
But they don't at all go back in time.
Well, they do mentally.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah.
And ultimately, they go back in time at the end when they fix the time machine.
What?
Yeah. The very last scene of the movie is them talking about how they go back to time to go play guitar with Bob Marley.
Oh, fuck, you're right. They do. They fix the time machine and they actually go back in time. We just don't get to see any of it.
Yep. Because that's the most interesting way to do a time machine movie. Literally showed none of the time travel.
Yeah.
So if you didn't read the title, we're doing the Poof Point today.
The Poof Point. Everyone's favorite DCOM.
It's a DCOM that everyone definitely knows exists.
For sure.
Totally. It is a movie. It's got a pretty fun plot, synopsis, and it's probably not that good.
It's pretty mid.
Mid in like the mid term. Yeah.
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 Like, it's fine.
It exists.
It exists.
It's got some fun stuff. It's got some annoying stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we read fan mail?
I think it is time for some fan mail. Should I read the fan mail or should you read the fan mail
You
today?
can read it.
All right. We got one piece of fan mail today. It is once again from my mom. Thank you, Mom. I love reaching out. Thank you for taking us out curling and having Kelsey lose to me in curling, in part because you slid a rock with your broom.
It was the rock I threw too. I threw a rock, and then your mom pushed the enemy rock
While she was
out
sweeping,
of the...
she just swept away a rock. It was very funny.
It's so funny.
That was pretty good. She talked about having listened to Miracle in Lane 2. She says that it's cool that your dad is such an efficient painter.
Yeah, my dad does paint.
Talks about how big of a fan I was. She laughed out loud hearing the two of us discuss backyard baseball. I was a huge fan of all the backyard baseball games and the athletic Pablo. That's true.
Yep.
Pablo Sanchez was my best friend for the virtual world. Love that man. Also fun to hear the discussion of Pinewood Derby car building days, comparing that to soapbox derby engineering. It is not normal to have kids go do dishes while their parents run off for strawberries in the nearby bedroom. It's weird that was in a Disney movie. We fully agree.
Fully agree. Thank you for confirming that, like, you didn't do this to your children, because that's crazy.
It's really wild. And she's excited for our minisode. We already released that minisode, but we didn't read this fan mail when we were recording that. If you have not checked out our minisode, it's about 30 minutes long. It's just us ranking the first 10 movies that we watched and also doing some fun little drafts. I think it would turn out pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's a good time.
Yeah. So maybe check that one out if you like hearing us talk. Which, if you're listening to this podcast, that's a very large part of what we do here.
If not the only thing, it's a podcast.
Yeah. The people are only coming here to listen to the play-by-play breakdowns of DCOM scenes.
So they don't have to watch it?
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we get into the Poof Point?
I think it's time to do the deep dive into the Poof Point plot.
You mean the DCOM Duo Factos?
Oh, yeah, it's Factos first. It's actually not been a while since we've recorded podcasts, but my brain's off of it right now.
Yeah, so we're going to start out with the DCOM Duo Factos. The Poof Point was released September 14th, 2001. 3 days after that.
I wonder if this is why the cultural significance of all this is forgotten.
Because who watched this 3 days after 9/11?
This is like similar to McDonald's had a huge lawsuit about their Monopoly game.
Why?
That started in court on September 10th, 2001. So everyone just kind of forgot about it because they were like rigging the game.
They were?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There's some good documentary stuff about that.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
Suddenly it seems less important when, 9/11 happens, especially as an American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I doubt many people really tuned in for the Poof Point. It was the 32nd DCOM.
Honestly, I forget how many early DCOMs there are because I'm like, oh, this is 2001. It's pretty early. 32 is pretty deep in.
They did a lot in those early years. Yeah. Remember, they used to release probably at least 3, if not more, a year for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then in recent years, it's just like way slowed down.
Yeah.
So, except for the whatever year Teen Beach movie came out, that was the only DCOM that was released that year.
And
it was kind of weird.
I think in 2020, I don't think there was any. Maybe there was. Like, they definitely
might have been Upside Down Magic.
Yeah, there was some COVID stoppage for all that, but like.
Yeah, no, that was the longest period in between DCOMs because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Poof Point is directed by Neil Israel. We have heard that name before because he directed Hounded, which we've talked about. There's a lot
of carryover between Hounded and this movie in terms of actors and directors and
worked on it.
Yeah. So if you want a bigger deep dive into the actors and characters of that, maybe check that podcast out.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna really say anything more about Neil Israel because we talked about him in Hounded. So yeah. All right. Our cast. Eddie, one of our main characters, is played by Taj Mowry.
Mm-hmm.
He was also the star of Hounded, so we've talked about him already. He is the brother of Tia and Tamara Mowry, the twins from Sister and Twitches.
Yep.
He's also
a Disney Channel family.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. He's also like one of the voices in Kim Possible. We've already talked about Taj, so
yeah,
we don't need to go into him.
The thing that I'll just continue to say about Taj Mowry is he has such a face that he makes in 70% of the times he's on screen.
Yeah.
It's just his guffaw face where you see something that's unbelievable. That's just what his resting face really feels like. He's always going, huh? I don't know how to describe it because it's a auditory only podcast right now, but he's just always going, ugh.
Dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mouth slightly agape, just trying to calculate everything that's going on.
Yeah, he has very iconic facial expressions, much like Frankie Muniz in Miracle in Lane 2, which we did last week, or 2 weeks ago. Our other main character, Marie, Eddie and Marie are siblings. She is played by Raquel Lee Ballo. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry if it's wrong. She is one of the voices in the Proud Family.
Okay.
She's one of the blue gross sisters is what I found they're called. The kind of bully.
I barely watched Proud Family.
The girls that are blue.
Okay.
I don't know why they're blue.
There's probably a reason.
But she's one of them. Isn't. Yeah, she's one of them. She was also in a fair amount of episodes of The Amanda Show.
Do you know if she's a part of the revival for Proud Family?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good for her.
It did, I think, credit her in the new Proud Family on IMDb. So yeah, no, I think
still getting work then.
Yeah. Yeah. And it says she was in Amanda Show, and I'm like, I think maybe I do remember her being in some of the sketches in Amanda Show. Or maybe I'm just making that up. But she definitely was. The
Wikipedia page for her says she was replaced by Josh Peck, which is just an interesting little fact.
She got kicked off the Amanda Show for Josh Peck?
Yeah.
Damn.
Hard to beat Josh Peck, if we're being honest.
He ended up getting his own show with Drake Bell.
So. And honestly, Josh Peck still does stuff.
Yeah, he's very talented and funny. So, yeah. All right. The mom of the movie, Marigold, is played by Dawn Lewis. She plays the mom in Let It Shine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
She's done a ton of small roles in acting and voice acting. The two that I've noted where she has like kind of a bigger role, she did 3 episodes of Grey's Anatomy in 2022. She also is one of the voices in the Carmen Sandiego Netflix show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The Chief, apparently. So if you watch Carmen Sandiego, you'll probably know who that is.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Norton, the dad, is played by Mark Curry. The only thing, he's done stuff, but I didn't really know it. The only thing I noted was that he's in motocross, apparently, which is a DCOM that we will cover. So yeah, look out for him in motocross, I guess.
These people are also in stuff that we just don't know that well ourselves.
Yeah. No, it's like he's done some small role stuff. It's just like, I don't know any of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, motocross. I know that one. I
clicked on his Wikipedia page and like, apparently he was one of the main roles in Hanging with Mr. Cooper, which is a 5-season sitcom on ABC. And I'm like, I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that. Yeah. I mostly just write down things that like we would recognize, as 20-something-year-old people. So, next we have the Cooks, which are like the neighbors, right? Corky Cook is played by Jan Brogerg, which I don't have anything written down for her. She's like done some stuff. But Chick Cook, who's the guy, his name is Chick Cook.
Chick and Corky Cook, what a couple.
He's played by Bruce Newbold, and the reason I have these guys down is because Bruce Newbold is in Pixel Perfect.
Okay.
As Sam's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So minor role in that movie.
We love Pixel Perfect on this podcast.
A DCOM, if you're unfamiliar. We will cover it.
And we are excited to cover it.
Yeah. Next we have Lizzie, who are the Cook's daughters, Lizzie Cook. She's played by Haley McCormick. She's credited in Halloween Town High as girl number 1.
Huge role. Everyone remembers her as girl number 1.
Yeah. And lastly, of course, I had to shout out, Annie is played by Alicia Rulin, who is Kelsey in High School Musical. She's also in Halloween Town High. And she was in Hounded. I was correct back when we watched Hounded. And I'm like, that looks like Kelsey from High School Musical. Confirmed. It was.
There we go.
So there we go.
All right, cool. So that's the cast.
That's the cast.
And any fun facts?
Yeah. So the only fun facts I have to talk about is that the Poof Point is based on a book by Ellen Weiss and maybe also Mel Friedman. His name's on like the cover of the book. So I assume, yeah, but like everywhere else, when I look it up online, it just says Ellen Weiss is the author. So I don't know. The book came out in 1992. I could not find a lot of information about this book. Like, I don't know. What I did learn is that like this family was introduced in actually another book. So this is like the second book
in the series.
Yeah. The other book,
prequel story to the Poof Point.
Yeah.
Can we get that in 2023?
Probably not. Yeah. The book but that came out before the Poof Point was called The Tiny Parents, and where the parents in which
themselves,
their experiment goes wrong.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it's Honey, I Shrunk the Adults.
Yeah. Gotcha. So the kids have to like figure out how to get them back to normal size.
Do you ever watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
No.
It wasn't that good. Nostalgia's going to tell people that it was good. I don't remember it being that good, and I've not watched it since childhood.
I never had any interest in watching it.
He shrinks the kids.
Yeah.
That's the game. But
so when I was reading like just the, basic plot of the book, I couldn't find anything that had like the spoilers, like Spark Notes or anything. Couldn't find any of that.
They don't have Spark Notes for
the Poof Point.
No. What? It's not a literary classic.
No, but it's like a children's chapter book.
Yeah.
And it said in the description, like, oh, it's, a fun story about the parents aging back in time and the kids have to figure it out. And it ends in a crazy twist. And I was like, I have to know what this twist is. You can't leave me hanging there. So I actually found a free PDF of the book
huge.
online. I did not have time to read the whole thing. I only had like an hour before I had to leave or something. But I did read the final chapter and like a little bit here and there. And from what I could gather, the parents weren't aging down the same way they were in the movie. They were aging back in time. Like they thought they were from the 1920s. And eventually at the end, they were like cavemen. So that's how it worked. Isn't that weird?
That is, honestly, that's a more interesting plot than what they did.
Think so?
In my opinion, yeah.
Liked how they did in the movie, though, because you got to see the parents' relationship throughout their lives, but backwards. And, like, you know that they get married, but as kids, they would, like, bicker.
The plot from the movie, if people don't know, is they make a time machine, but it goes wrong, and instead of sending them back through time, it basically de-ages their brain over time. So they will be, like, they're originally 40 years old, and then they're 21, and then they're 14.
Yeah.
While still being in their adult bodies.
And they're still themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, I think they kind of become different people. But there's still the poof point, which is where they poof out of existence.
But is that just the dawn of humanity?
It must be, right? Okay, so in the last chapter, from what I can tell, the twist ending is that, like, their neighbor comes over, like, and is yelling at them and stuff. And she gets mixed up in the, like, experiment or whatever.
That's some quirky behavior.
Yeah, well, her name wasn't Corky in the book. It was like
Rip
it
off.
was like Mildred or something. And she ends up poofing into like another lifetime. I think they said a future life where she's like a real estate agent and she's just a completely different person. And they're like, well, guess we'll have to figure that one out later. At least our parents are back to normal.
So they just kind of leave her for dead?
Well, she's not dead, but they're like, we'll figure it out, I guess. Now that they have their parents back, maybe their parents can fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, like, they had a joke about Twinkies where they had to feed the caveman parents Twinkies to calm them down. And then when they came back, the dad was like, oh, but I hate Twinkies. What? And it ends with him, like, he drank some club soda and he starts to hiccup. And you know how when they hiccup, they, like, is when they go back. So the kids are like, oh, no. And he's like, what? It's just normal hiccups. And then the book ends. So, yeah. Pretty weird. But from what we can tell, the rest of the book is, like, fairly accurate.
Sure.
Their names are the same. So, yeah, that's what I could find in the book. If you've read The Poof Point, for some wild reason, yeah, please message us.
We would love to know anything.
Anything more that happened.
Email us at thedcomduo@gmail.com.
Yeah, for sure.
Or just contact us in any other way you can think to.
I would love to know. Because I don't actually want to read the whole thing. All right, you ready for the Disney Plus subscription?
Give me that DPD. No, wait. That is the correct letters. That's just a weird way to say it, I feel.
No, that worked. All right. Eddie and Marie's parents are busy scientists with very little time for their kids. After inventing a time machine, the parents discover that instead of going backwards in time, the machine has started making them mentally younger. Now Eddie and Marie must work together to get their parents back to normal before they age back to the poof point and disappear forever. That's literally the plot. No complaints on that description.
Rare win for the Disney Plus subscription.
They got all the facts right. They didn't miss anything. That's literally just how we do it.
Yeah. It's a simple description of the plot.
Yeah.
All right.
Ready to dive in?
Let's deep dive.
All right. So we open it on the movie. It says Disney Channel original movie on a chalkboard. And we pan over to Eddie talking to the camera in front of the chalkboard. And he's like, you ever wonder what your parents were like as kids?
It's kind of a weird intro. This is a whole scheming format that they do a couple of times, but not enough in the movie.
No, they do it a fair bit.
They do it enough where you know it's a running thing that they can do, but I don't think they do it enough where I'm like, it just kind of feels weird that they have it. They could have just deleted it and did some other stuff and been fine.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I don't like that he's like talking directly to the camera.
And it's clearly on a set because it's just a chalkboard behind him. Like, it's clearly this is not part of the movie. He's just the character talking to the audience, which is just weird.
It's weird. They could have voiced it over.
Yeah, a voiceover would have been a much easier way to do this, and it would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. I don't know why we need to cut to Eddie.
But I guess they were trying to stretch the runtime out because this is a pretty short movie.
Honestly, there are a couple times where I'm like, damn, they're really trying to stretch this out, and it's only in like an hour.
And honestly, for how much plot there is, they really shouldn't be struggling to run this out.
But it's like, what more can we do, I guess? I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know about you, but I just kind of assumed my parents were born as parents. What? Dumb kid.
It's a trope, I feel like, where kids don't understand that parents are also kids.
But he's 14.
That's what I'm going to say. You're old enough where you can know different. And like, even if you're like, man, I didn't know that dad was cool at one point.
That's fine.
That's fine. Well, what I'm saying is, I think it's a dumb trope because it's like, wow, my eyes are open right now. Adults act differently than kids.
What? Why would that happen? He's also like, it's so scary having to live with them that young. But that's what happened to me. My parents are younger. I don't know.
We had a flash forward to the point in the movie when they're like...
they're like toddlers. And it's like, yep, that's me. Bet you're wondering how I got here.
They literally do the, like, you probably are wondering... It's the classic flashback opening sequence thing, but they could have just started with that, you know, instead of starting with him talking to the camera and then going, yep, that's me. At least it's not like Lemonade Mouth where they do a double flashback and then to find out that the whole movie was actually a flashback. There's literally 3, like, bet you're wondering how I got to this point.
In Lemonade Mouth, it's like, hey, this is us. We're Lemonade Mouth. Bet you're wondering how we got here. It all started with detention. But wait, I bet you're wondering how we got here. And they go back more.
But like, at least there, Lemonade Mouth is A, good movie, and B, if they do it multiple times, it's way funnier.
They couldn't decide if they wanted to start with the look at us, we're about to play at Madison Square Garden. I bet you're wondering how we got here, or we're starting in detention. I bet you're wondering how we got here. So they did both.
Which is just a great choice. Enough about Lemonade Mouth. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, it's all because of the Poof Point. And then we see the Poof Point.
It's a very dramatic logo.
Is it dramatic?
And then you see like the house basically exploding. But by exploding, I mean the camera's moving back and forth. Yeah. And the whole house just looks completely fine. But there's big sound effects.
Yeah, so the parents are like, all science, blah, 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 smart talk. And like things are exploding. And Marie is like, guys, please be ready by 1:00. And they're like, for what? And she's like, oh my God, for our graduation. How could you forget?
That's pretty bad.
This must be like a middle school graduation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have a middle school graduation.
I think they're both moving to 8th grade. I had an elementary school graduation and a high school graduation. I also don't think I had a middle school one.
No, you don't really need one.
But like, I get why there could be one. And regardless, as a parent, it's definitely your job to know this stuff. And they're not good parents.
They're moving from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. It's a ceremony.
It's psychotic.
Okay. So obviously science is more important to the parents. And also there's a dog and his name is Einstein. And
this dog, Einstein, is extremely plot relevant and he's only in like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, he is not in the movie much at all. Also, okay, the kids start like heating up food, or maybe the parents do it. Their food is like, I don't even know how it starts out, but you put it in the microwave and it's like, boop, there's a cheeseburger.
You'll see it in a lot of sci-fi films where they do food like this. I think they do it in Xenon as well, where it's basically, here, I'm going to put randomly like shaped block into a microwave-like thing that's not a microwave. Wait 30 seconds, pull it out, and it's like the most picturesque food you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like,
talk about it. You're just supposed to like, it's showing and not telling, where it's like, oh, these parents have invented some crazy shit.
What I don't get is I feel like this is something that should be sold around because this is fantastic technology that could absolutely be utilized, assuming that it's energy efficient, because if it isn't, it's a terrible use of their resources.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I feel like they should just be like marketing. This is a whole business in of itself. feel like the parents are missing opportunities.
I mean, they're working with the university, so
maybe it's still getting patent processed. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Eddie plays some guitar kind of badly, and the siblings are like teasing each other. And Eddie, we learn, wants to get into this band.
The Urban Slugs.
Yeah, which is a bad name.
I like it more than I feel like I should, because I feel like objectively it's a bad name, but I feel like there's a genre of music where Urban Slugs can work. You gotta remember, this is the same genre that he's trying to go in that had bands like Uncle Cracker and Corn with a K.
I'm fine with those names.
Why are you fine with Corn with a K?
It's funny. I don't like slugs. Slugs are slimy and gross.
Well, that's kind of what the music's supposed to make you feel.
Slimy and gross?
Yeah.
No.
That's kind of what that style of like
that's
rock
what
metal
Uncle Cracker does.
Yeah, not really Uncle Cracker. I'm more thinking like Corn.
Corn. Okay, we also learned that the parents are testing a time machine. So Eddie explains in his like voiceover / he's in front of a chalkboard talking to the camera that the parents are testing the time machine today on some goldfish.
Yeah.
So the parents are like doing their science and they're like science, blue, blue, blue. And the dog is down in the lab.
This is such a dumb premise to start like the inciting incident. Why would they allow the dog to stay in the lab if they're worried about it? A, they should have checked well beforehand that the dog was there. I understand he left the door open. That's why the dog's there. But B, don't just let the dog stay by you. Put the dog away.
Yeah, he like shoos the dog away because Einstein wants to play fetch with the dad. And he's like, man, I don't like dogs. Blah. And Einstein like has a bed with a pile of toys down in the lab.
Also, a couple side notes. Number one, if this is like the day that they're going to be doing the testing, they should have other people from the university that are funding this check this, because this is a monumentous occasion. They're going to send a goldfish back in time. That's huge.
But they say later that it's like super, super top secret, that they don't have any colleagues that know about it.
But they need a university. Like the university knows about it. The university oversight people who know about it should be there.
Maybe.
Maybe
they would be there like after they prove that it works.
I don't know. I feel like on a test like that where you're expecting it to be the final test. Yeah. But maybe they're just over cocky all the time and think that it's always going to be the perfect test, but this time it actually like almost works.
Yeah. Anyway, so the parents are like x squared plus v squared, blah blah blah. They're like doing their little equation and putting it in, and Einstein follows the little bug on the ground, and he like presses a button or something, and a like ball on a stick thing is released.
Red metal ball on a stick, and this is the MacGuffin of the movie.
Yeah, he steals it because he's like, this is a toy, and he puts it with his other toys.
So somehow the machine without this piece, doesn't tell you, well actually it does tell you later that this piece is missing, that just every character misses it.
Eddie voices over like, oh, you see that piece is really important.
But why does the machine still run without it? That should be a safety mechanic built in.
It runs just like wrong. And you're right, that shouldn't happen. It should have voiced over, because later when they put it back, it's like contraption placed in the machine.
They do at one point when the parents are actually getting in the machine. It says, do you know the name of the part? We didn't write this. It's like the Voltrux capacitor, something stupid like that.
Yeah.
It's like that thing is missing.
I thought they just figured out because they look at the blueprint.
Well, that's what they figure out later. But when the parents are getting caught in the machine, it says it.
Oh.
But it doesn't say what it's doing it on the fish, which doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense. All right. Anyway, they're like, let's test the time machine on the fish, which I want to know. How are they going to know that the fish went back in time? Are the fish going to like disappear and they're in a previous time and they're like, yes, it worked?
They're going to they sent a news reporter back in time previously on a different successful time machine project to go report on if there's any fish at Gettysburg Address, because that's where they're sending the goldfish.
Gettysburg?
Yeah, they're sending the goldfish to watch Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, which feels like butterfly effect could be terrible.
Yeah. Especially like, where is the fish going? Is it going right in front of them?
Where did the fish go?
Where did the fish go? Anyway. Okay, the time machine has an error, and the fish are still there, and they're like, what the heck? They were supposed to go back in time, but they're still here. But we went over our calculations so many times. How did this happen?
Fun fact, they have a mistake in the calculations anyways.
No, they don't.
Oh, no, later on they do.
Well,
Way later on.
we'll get there. We'll get there. They're like, well, anyway, guess it's time to go to graduation. Like,
and they turn away and miss the fish hiccuping.
Yeah, so the fish hiccup, and the machine is like, the fish are now 1 year old or whatever. Like, they're younger, basically. Yeah. The machine, like, narrates what's going on so that we, the audience, knows what's going on. Okay, so now they're getting ready to leave for graduation, and Marie starts like quizzing her parents on who her friends are. Like, she has pictures of them.
It's important to note these names because they're important.
They're important to Marie.
Yeah.
And she's like, I really want you guys to like know their names.
Which I feel like parents should just know their friends' names anyways.
But if the parents never really met them, or maybe they have met them.
I think they
and
have.
It's like, you should know their names.
I think we should not put too much faith in these parents. They're not the greatest at the parental side of parenting.
I mean, my parents were good. Probably too, because I'm like, okay, can Alex come over? And they're like, yeah. And then, you know, they show up and like, hi, Alex. Like, they just heard the name. And I didn't have like a ton of friends that would come over to my house, you know? So it's like, you get to know the few friends that do.
Well, like, they don't even know her best friend's name or her mortal enemies.
Yeah, okay. She also is like, who's this? This is my mortal enemy, Chloe, who I also have a picture of. Just so that you know.
I mean, don't you have a picture of your mortal enemy?
No.
I do.
Maybe back then, like, it's Polaroids, which I assume were, like, in at the time. It was, like... 2001 this came out. That was probably hit. Shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Hey,
yeah. And Eddie's like, why don't you have a pic of Colin?
Ooh.
Because you have a crush on him.
Colin.
And the mom is like, stop it. When I was your age, boys were the furthest thing from my mind. I liked science. So we'll see if that's true later when she ages down. And Eddie is like, please don't talk about science when we get there. Like, talk about the stock market. Is that what he tells us?
He's talking about the stock market like cool parents, which is really funny to me because what cool parents talk about the stock market? In any other movie, it's like, can you talk about something cooler than the stock market? But no, they want to be like, be normal. Yeah, don't talk about science.
Please stop talking about science. And the dad's like, cool is a dumb word. No, it's not. I like saying cool.
Well, if you're a scientific minded person, you're like, wow, cool? You mean cold? I don't know. It's dumb. This movie's dumb. We shouldn't be harping too hard on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and they were like, we were teenagers once. We know how you feel. And Eddie's like, no one knows how I feel. And Marie's like, I do. Which is true. Yeah, if anyone's going to know.
It's literally just the sibling who has the same issues with the parenthood thing.
Yeah.
At the same age. Yep. Although Eddie is like a year younger. They mentioned this in one line of dialogue where Eddie skipped a grade.
Oh, okay. Because he's smart. Because he's a smart parent.
Yep.
And genes. I don't know.
But they are, Eddie's a year younger, but they're in the same grade.
I just assumed they were twins.
That's what I did the first time I watched, but then I caught that line this time.
Okay. It doesn't really matter.
It really does not matter.
I don't know why they shoehorned in this graduation. But then later, like,
they needed an excuse to get them out of the house. So they wouldn't discover the fish de-aging.
Also to, like, establish that they're weird. And the neighbors don't like them.
Eddie gives him like a script of what to say about Shaquille O'Neal's stats.
Yeah.
Leads into a joke later on.
Yeah. So we get a glimpse back at the goldfish, and the machine is like, the fish are 1 minute old. And they're about to hit the poof point where they will become non-existent, and then poof, the fish disappear.
I want to say this now because it bugs me and it still bugs me. I completely understand the concept. Like, first off, this is science fiction. What I'm going to complain about, I don't really have right to complain about because it's science fiction and the rules of the universe are dictated by that.
Yeah.
But they're de-aging mentally throughout all this time. And once they de-age to the point where they won't have any mental capacity, they disappear physically.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. They should just become lifeless husk and die.
Like, their corpse should still be there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess they maybe just don't want to show that in a kids movie.
Yeah, if they became like basically brain dead, that would just be really scary.
But I feel like that's what it should be for this concept.
Should just basically de-age. Or sorry, yeah, de-age. Age now.
And then you could disappear.
Yeah.
But you would have to physically be changing actors at that point, and they don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that. Yeah.
Some of the joy they were trying to get in this movie were adults acting as kids. I don't think that landed, but that's beside the point. That was the point.
Well, that's like the book too. I don't understand. Like, okay, they become like cavemen, and then what? They disappear physically.
Well, the thing is, for that one, that makes more sense for me because at that point there are no more humans.
But
there should be corpses as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. It's a children's movie. Okay, so back at the graduation, the parents are like looking at science during the ceremony.
They're literally, the kids are walking across the graduation stage. Their names are announced, and the parents are too busy looking on their not iPads because iPads aren't invented yet.
Yeah, no, probably just like paper or something. Yeah.
And they're like laughing at the data and going, woohoo.
I don't think they're laughing. I think they're just like science.
They're really excitedly looking at science, which is, again, bad parenting.
We also learned the kids' full names. So there's Edison Newton.
Which is pretty funny. And Thomas Edison and Isaac Newton, of course.
Yep. And then Marie Curie.
Which is also funny to me because then they were like, no, we're just going to give Marie Curie the full name, probably because female scientists are more rare.
They couldn't think of two female scientists. So then after the ceremony, the parents get the friends' names right, which is good.
They're good at memorizing stuff. They're like, yeah, good job, parents.
Yep, but then they still are acting weird.
They're weird, but hey, parents can act weird. This is not the problem part. Yeah. The problem part more comes when they're like, hey, go converse with the other parents.
Yeah, but also this is where we see Kelsey from High School Musical, so yay.
You just like pointing that out. Is it because your name's Kelsey?
High School Musical. No, because it's High School Musical.
That's fair.
Eddie leaves to go talk to Colin, and Marie leaves with her friends to go like see a boy. And mom's like, remember what I said about boys? And the parents, this is when they go talk to the other parents.
Yep.
And what does he say?
So yeah, he's walking in. The dad is walking into a conversation about baseball. It's very clearly about baseball, but they don't say baseball anywhere in there. So they're talking about like pitchers and rookies and stuff in baseball terms specifically. And the dad comes in and says, man, that Shaq really has some good stats recently, because that's what Eddie told him to say. Mm-hmm. If you don't know, Shaq played basketball. So the funny part in that joke is that it's the wrong sport. I'm like, you know what? That's a setup and a payoff of a joke. I'm okay with that line.
And it's a sports joke.
And it's a sports joke. So I'm the sports boy.
Yeah. And so the other parents are like, whoa, you actually came out. I thought you only get out when your lab catches on fire. Ooh, burn.
Got him.
Okay, I wrote down the one mom's name is Corky. Corky Cook comes back, so I'm excited about that. Corky, fun fact, was my cat's original name when I adopted her. Isn't that such a weird fucking name?
Corky is a name, though. We might have fans named Corky.
Is it? I've never heard of anyone named Corky.
What about Corky Cook?
Just this movie is what I've heard. Corky.
No, like,
and my cat's original name.
It's not a common name, but it is an actual name.
Yeah. Now my cat's name is Mitzi, who's the mom in The Fablemans. Ooh, fun. Okay. So not Marie. Why did I write down Marie? Marigold, the mom, starts sniffing Corky's sweater.
It's absurd.
It's so weird. And it's like, this is made out of this material, blah, blah, blah. And it's very flammable. This is fucking weird. I don't care that you're into science. You don't be like, let me sniff this and then tell you what it's made out of. Like, dude, look at the tag if you really want to know. But also, it doesn't matter. They don't have any social skills.
Do you know the concept of min-maxing?
No, what's that?
Min-maxing is a concept, I'm thinking of it in like the RPG term, for like in Dungeons & Dragons, where you're going to minimize certain skills to leave room for your skill points to go into other skills. These parents are maximizing their intelligence, and they're minimizing all other skills. Their charisma stat is tanked to the floor.
I'm surprised they still wanted to have children with how...
Honestly, it doesn't really make sense.
No.
And they like, still as like, parents, it feels like they don't want children.
No, and like later when they're aged out a little bit, they're like, I'm not having kids until I finish my doctorate, which like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised they want kids at all.
Yeah.
Because they're so research focused. Both of them are. But
It doesn't really make sense to me,
Yeah.
but hey, who am I to judge?
yeah. Meanwhile, Eddie gets his audition with the Urban Slugs band, and it's tomorrow at his house. They're gonna go to Eddie's house and do the audition.
Fair enough. They wanted to see his equipment. I don't know.
No, he should just bring his own
He
guitar
He
wherever
should.
they practice, but
like,
whatever.
They want to create narrative
Yeah, it's
drama.
for the plot.
And it's not that weird.
It's fine. All right, so then the dad starts to like do an experiment in front of everyone where it's just like he takes the principal's glasses and he's like, I'm gonna make fire, which is like, yeah, that's a really good idea to do
He's
indoors.
like this in some sort of time travel thing, but it's really not. It's just I'm gonna use light to make fire.
Why would he make fire indoors at a ceremony?
It's
That's such a hazard. If I was a firefighter or a firefighter was there, they should have fucking stopped that. Oh my gosh. So then he catches the principal's like graduation cap thing on fire.
Yep. Which it's not a goop joke because fire is not goop.
It's not goop.
But otherwise it has all of the physical elements of being a goop joke except for the fact that it's not goop. It's a physical humor joke.
Did you notice that the principal, like, he didn't even notice it?
He didn't notice.
They never show him noticing. It cuts away.
I wonder, the fire's probably fake, you know?
But, like, he's just literally standing there like, what's everybody's problem? His head should be really hot. Why don't they show him, like, taking off the cap and, like, stomping on it? They're just like...
CGI budget would have to be higher.
They're just like, oh, guess our parents are weird. Oh, that's so embarrassing for us. And it, like, cuts away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This movie's weird. Back home, the kids are not happy. And Maria's like, I must be adopted. This sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the parents ask Eddie if they embarrass them, like if the parents embarrass the kid. And Eddie's like, guys, yeah, like we already have teachers. We want parents. We want parents. We want normal parents.
Mm-hmm. So. Which would be a more cutting emotional moment if I was more invested.
Yeah. The parents are like, oh, too bad. Let's go back to the lab.
They're like, man, we got to go check on the fish.
Yeah. So they go down to the stairs, and then they see the bowl is empty, and they go, where did the fish go?
And Marigold says that line, and for some reason, when we watched this for the first time, we could not stop saying, where did the fish go?
Where did the fish
It's
go?
not even that funnily said.
The way they talk, it's the way they talk all like very science and matter of fact.
And they do this the whole movie. It's not like... It's not like it's that weird for them to say it for the fish specifically.
Where did the fish go?
Where did the fish go? It's really not...
It wasn't that significant, but it was when we watched it the first time. Okay. So the dad's like, oh, maybe the fish are back in time or they hopped in the ozone. Like, let's just run the procedure again with the other goldfish we have and see what happens.
That's the correct way to do a scientific experiment like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Scientific method is hit.
And then we hear Eddie in the voiceover being like, oh, but they didn't know that the fish disappeared because of the Poof Point. Thanks, Eddie. We already saw that happen.
Like, nothing should go wrong as long as you know nothing goes wrong.
Why is he explaining it again? They just don't trust the audience. There was a commercial
break in between, so maybe someone just started the movie.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's a bad explanation if that's the explanation.
Okay, so the machine starts to error again because Marigold is standing like in the test field.
This is what I'm saying. They're not following the procedure when the test is going on.
Why is she just standing there?
They need like safety glasses on, for gosh sakes.
They were like behind like glass before, right? By the computer. She should go back there again. Instead, she's just standing right in front of the machine and the dad starts the experiment.
It's so dumb. It doesn't make sense.
It's so dumb. They're supposed to be professional scientists.
Norton does something dumb where he tries to save her, but at least that makes sense.
He tries to grab her, I guess. He should have pulled her away. Instead, he just kind of puts his arms around her.
And guess what? The beam hits them instead of the goldfish.
They're fucked.
Yep.
So there's like light magic, and they float around and shit.
The house is exploding again.
I'm like, why didn't the fish do this?
They were less big.
the parents like float around and stuff, and the fish were just like in the tank. I don't know.
And this is where it does say like the MacGuffin is missing. The MacGuffin is missing. But they definitely just forget about that because
their memories get
their memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
because now they are mentally back to their 21-year-old selves.
The only reason I'm mentioning that is it just reinforces the fact that it should have said it when the fish happened. So therefore they should have known something was wrong and what exactly was wrong.
Yeah.
We should mention Einstein took the ball and thing and buried it with his dog toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the kids come down and they're like, what was that? That was like the worst explosion yet. Which I don't believe for a second because we see like property damage on the neighbors' houses later. I think that was probably worse. Anyway.
No, they're terrible neighbors.
Yeah, they are. And the dad says cool, which what? He said he hated that word before. And they don't recognize their children. And the mom's like, let me guess. Your names are Edison Newton and Marie Curie. Like, those are the names I picked out for my future children. This must be a prank.
Oh, my mother, she's such a prankster.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not having kids till I finish my doctorate. And the kids are like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you walked in on this. This would be like, what type of prank are you doing on us?
Yeah, so then they're like, whoa, is this a time machine? Like, that's crazy. Like, what we're going to invent later when we have a better computer. Whoa, this is a better computer. Like, they're starting to realize.
The fact that it's a better computer, I think it's the fact that it's a portable computer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's kind of one and the same.
Yeah. And Marie's like, okay, like, this is weird. Hey, parents, who's the president? And the parents are like, you don't know who the president is? And she's like, I need you to tell me who the presidents
she's like
are.
Panicking.
That's how you, like...
This is the common time travel trend.
Yeah, well, that's also like, you know, someone has like a concussion or something. You also like who the president is to see if like they're lucid, basically.
And they say Ronald Reagan.
The Ron man, our political hero, Ronald Reagan, and Nancy Reagan's hot.
It's weird they call out Nancy Reagan as hot. I'm not going to get into the whole throat goat scandal of Nancy Reagan, but you can look up that on your own.
The 21-year-olds into Nancy Reagan?
I don't know. All I'm saying is Nancy Reagan she got around when she was in the Hollywood era.
Okay.
This is a known thing. You can look it up. It's kind of fascinating and kind of morbid. Not morbid is the wrong word, but it's like, man, that's the vice president doing all those things. Yeah. And she's the one who like...
No, the first lady. Not the vice president.
Not vice president. The first lady doing all those things. And she certainly is making some choices, and then she goes and like villainizes those with AIDS and then feels a bit hypocritical. Yeah. Let's just say that. Regardless, I feel like this is a call out to Back to the Future, because the first thing with Back to the Future, they're like, who's the president right now? And they go, Ronald Reagan. He goes, the actor.
Yeah. That was a funny part of Back to the Future.
Yeah. I feel like that's just like the call out to Back to the Future this movie has, because any time travel movie nowadays has to have some call out to Back to the Future. Yeah.
All right. So then they're back in the lab and they like, the kids are trying to set the parents up to try and fix the problem because they're still themselves as scientists, just younger mentally. And the dad is like, you're telling me silly Billy Gates made this computer? I tutored him in calculus.
I mean, this is honestly a part of the movie I wish I leaned more into, because I feel like some of the funniest lines in here are the parents being like, yo, these people in like the modern day did all this cool stuff. I was so much better than them.
Oh, wait. Oh, we weren't supposed to get to that part yet. Sorry, hold on, go back. Eddie is explaining them that they haven't been married for 6 months. It's been like years, and that they're the children. And they show the parents the photo album, and they're like, whoa.
We look old.
We look old. What? That's crazy. And then they're like, go look in the mirror right now. But the parents see themselves as 21-year-olds in the mirror.
In the most 80s style.
Which, like, how does that work? That shouldn't be happening.
Well, that's like how their brain views themselves. That's the concept behind it. It's not what like is physically there for them, but it's just like what they view themselves as in their own reality. And it's just an explanation for why they don't see their bodies and immediately realize something's up. Because otherwise, a lot of the plot of the movie wouldn't work.
Yeah. Also, the mom goes, "You are so flamboyant," which I know is one of your favorite words from the movie.
Flamboyant is unironically a great word that we should use. It's such a good term.
Flamboyant. And then they start like making out.
Yeah.
And
they do.
singing. Which I get, they're newlyweds. They've been married for 6 months. Yeah, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And we learned also that a dog once ate Norton's thesis paper, and that's why he hates dogs.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, Einstein is barely in this movie.
Yeah.
The dog. And this is one of his 4 scenes.
Yeah.
And
okay.
He's an incredibly important character.
He caused all of this shit to happen.
He also ultimately results in the fixing of it.
Yeah. Okay, so now they're in the lab doing the thing, and he's like, Bill Gates, meh. Okay. And the dad's like, what if the fish started de-aging and then poof, they disappeared? And then they're like, uh-oh.
Poof point. I'd like to point out from this point on, the computer starts talking about the poof point, which is weird to me. Did they program into the computer to talk about the poof point?
Well, the computer did say they're reaching poof point.
Yeah. Which is interesting. So this is a concept they must already have factored in.
I suppose that they thought about what about the scenario if you mentally de-age, you'd probably hit the poof point. What?
It's weird.
It's weird.
And they're able to time out how long it will take for them to hit the poof point.
It's weird. All right, so the parents explain to the kids, they're like, all right, the fish went poof. They regress out of existence in layman's terms. And the kids are like, that's layman's terms?
I feel like regress out of existence, though, is pretty understandable, but I get it.
I mean, they're 14.
Yeah, regress is a word you probably don't hear that often.
No. And Marie's like, are you guys going to go poof too? And I think I wrote chill out, girl. They'll figure it out. Do they say that? Do they say chill out, girl?
They might.
I don't know why else I would have written that.
Yeah, I think they're like, oh, we'll figure it out. We got 16 hours. This is going to be easy. And they're very confident.
Oh, also, the kids are like, don't you have any colleagues? And they're like, no, we don't. The project is so top secret that we don't have any colleagues. And that's also why the college moved the lab into their house.
Regardless, I feel like, especially when they go back in age a second time, in just a little bit, they really should have contacted the university who has smarter people for this type of thing. And
they won't know anything about the experiment.
Doesn't matter. Get more adults into this. Yeah, they really are hiding this too hard.
Yeah. We also learned they have until tomorrow evening to fix it.
Yep. So. Very MacGuffin-y. There's not a real good explanation why. It's just like, oh, that's when the time ends. It's accurate. That's when we poof.
So then we get the parents working in a science montage. And it's past midnight, but the kids are like, we're not going to sleep. Because we're on a time crunch, and what if you guys freaking die? Yeah, good point. I probably wouldn't want to sleep either. Mm-hmm. So then Marigold is like, I figured it out, I did it. And then she's about to explain it.
This is a trope that happens very often in the movie, literally every time. It happens
twice.
No, I think literally every time.
They're like, I got it, I figured it out. And then hiccup, oh no, we're younger again. So now they're 14.
And they're holding up a notebook here, and they never look at that notebook again, which annoys me because she probably didn't write it down, but you could be like, okay, the answer was somewhere here in this notebook.
She figured it out somehow from here. Yeah. You're right. They should have. Anyway, they're 14 now because the machine tells us they're 14.
And guess what? When they're 14, they didn't like each other.
They start arguing with each other. And Marigold's like, after the way Norton acted at the science fair, I never want to see you again. So they were 14 and they liked science and they had crushes on each other. And we get all of that, detail throughout the span of them being 14.
Yeah. They honestly spend probably the most out of any age period, most time in the movie as them as 14.
Yeah, which is interesting. I wonder if there's an equation of how long they spend. But
I think they spend more time they spend less time in each age gap, but we had basically a full day of them being 21.
Because it was a whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the longest with them being 21. Yeah, that makes sense.
Everyone is okay with the lack of sleep. That never gets really brought up.
No, yeah, I don't know. Guess they're fine. Okay, so then Eddie goes off trying to convince Norton that that's his dad, and like Marie goes off with Marigold.
They go to their rooms and they start talking, and it turns out the dad can shred some guitar.
Yeah, he just totally starts wailing on the guitar, which every time they play the guitar, like solo, not when they're playing with the band, but every other time, it's just like, and it's like definitely not what they're doing, and also definitely not what it would sound like
he plays
in
bass
person.
guitar.
Eddie?
Yeah.
He does for the band. He probably plays both. But yeah. Eddie's like, what the hell? You play guitar? And Norton's like, yeah, I've been playing a band. As a 14-year-old, I guess he had all these skills. Damn, okay. So then Marie is with her mom. And the mom changes into this like really cute pink overall outfit that I like. Mm-hmm. She's like, do you like it? And Marie's just kind of weirded out because that's her mom wearing her clothes.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah. And Marigold confides in Marie that she feels like a geek. And she wants a man who isn't like intimidated by her being smart.
You should get that in life. But also, Norton at this time is like, ugh, she thinks she's smarter than me. I hate that.
And she's a girl, man.
I feel like they could have done some more clever writing in this.
There's definitely like sexism with he's like, well, you're a girl, which obviously he grows out of when they're older. I should also
remember this is a 2001 film, so I should expect some of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of blatant sexism. Even though it's like written to be wrong, it's not written to be wrong enough.
Yeah. So then the kids start yelling at the parents that they need to like wise up and start helping. And the parents are like, it's too much. We're just like hormonal teenagers. We don't understand.
No one gets me. And then they're like, we're literally also 14.
Yeah, literally. Okay, so then we get a little short sequence where Colin stops by the house. Because they have the audition later that day. And Eddie's like, oh, I can't do the audition anymore. And Colin's like, too bad. I'm gonna come anyway. Which is kind of rude.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be like, okay, then you're not in the band.
That would be a fine enough thing. And then he might be like, no, I want to be in the band. But he's like, bro, you're practicing for the audition right now.
Yeah, because they can hear Norton on the guitar.
So we're coming. And it's like, wow. Okay.
Damn. All right. Back at the lab, they're trying to get their parents to work on the science. But the parents are arguing again. That's like a lot of this.
The whole movie, like, especially when they're 14, it's just the parents arguing.
But obviously they have crushes on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the middle of arguing, they like look at each other and they like fall in love. You can tell.
It's kind of a funny moment.
Yeah.
It's like such a clear, like, meet cute moment where they're just kind of like, oh my God, she's the one.
Oh my God. But then Marigold.
Why does she make me feel this way?
Marigold runs away because she can't handle it.
Yep.
Yeah. And Marie is with her and she's like, I don't know how to deal with my feelings. And Marie's like, it's because you guys are way in love. And Marigold goes, more like way in hate. Got him. And they have a heartfelt moment, actually, Marigold and Marie, about how hard it is to be young. Mm-hmm. And how you just feel lost all the time. And Marie's like, I didn't know, like, you felt this way. It's like, at one point.
It's supposed to be like one of the more emotional climaxes of the movie, where you're supposed to be really feeling this. It didn't land for me that well.
No, it's just, I started thinking, like, this is sad because her mom's probably gonna die.
Yeah, I feel like that's the angle they should have leaned on more, but I get it's a kid's movie made on TV on Disney Channel. They don't want to really imply death that much. Yeah. But they do on other movies, and those movies are better for it.
Ring Around the Slight.
What?
Ring Around the Slight.
I mean, yeah, just look some of the other movies done, like, they talk about death all the time in Miracle in Lane 2. And
then even, like, Smart House, because his mom died. They talk about that. There's a lot
of stuff where talking about the possible mortality of your parents is a good dialogue that adds more emotional richness. And in a situation like this, where there's a literal time limit to when they're going to die, I feel like that's a pressing conversation to have that never happens.
It's like, it's just kind of goofy of like, oh no, they're going to poof away. When this would be in reality way scarier.
You'd be crying the whole time.
I would, for sure.
I would too. But I'm not saying you as in you. I'm saying you as in like society.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like for sure me also. Yeah. So Eddie and Norton are upstairs playing guitar. And Eddie explains that like Norton is helping him prepare for the audition. And I think Marie's like, is this really the time?
And he goes like, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to keep Norton here and you're going to go bring Marigold to the lab and work with her. And
they keep fighting anyway.
which to me is honestly kind of a dumb but smart enough move, because he's like,
enough sense.
He's like, hey, this way I'm gonna do the audition, hang out and play guitar with my dad, and not do the work while being like logically sound and safe in my decision, because they're not getting work done together.
Yeah. But then, the parents like run off together.
Yeah, well, they're arguing about this because she's like, hey, Marie's like, that's kind of dumb. You should be the one in the lab.
Yeah. But okay, I don't get the parents' logic of running away together. They like hop on a bike.
A tandem bicycle.
Yeah, a tandem bicycle.
The concept for them running away, from my understanding, is they both fully agree something weird is going on. They're the only two that see each other as themselves.
Yeah.
And they want to figure out what it is, but they don't trust their kids, who they don't believe are their kids.
Because Marie and Marigold had that touching moment, and Marigold's like, oh my gosh, Marie, you're so cool.
But they're still just worried about it. I don't know.
So Eddie and Marie start looking for their parents, and Marie runs into Corky Cook, who's their neighbor, and Corky explains that, like, hey, we're not the only ones who have a problem with your parents. Come here, Marie. Come here.
They literally are about to take Marie. I feel like we should just get through this whole scene of scenes right here, because it's quite funny. They take Marie aside and go like, hey, look at all of this shit that your parents have done to just hurt our house.
How though? How is that shit happening when it's like, I'm assuming a few houses down? How are there explosions that big?
I believe they're across the street.
Explosions, unless they're blowing up like the entire house, shouldn't be transferring over to the neighbor's house. Like, it doesn't make sense. And they're like, the neighbor's dog like lost control of his bladder, and it's obviously because of your parents. It's like, how? I
think that was funny, where it's like, hey, some of this stuff is being exaggerated.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, we don't talk about Bruno, where they blame everything on Bruno. You didn't get fat because of Bruno.
I also just like can't believe that Corky is laying all of this on 14-year-old Marie.
And Marie's taking it, honestly. She's not.
Marie's like, Corky's like, would you rather I talk to your parents directly? And Marie's like, do you know where they are? Because she's just trying to find them.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care what Corky's saying. But I can't believe Corky's like, do you want me to talk to your parents directly? That should be what you're doing.
You should talk to the kid.
How dare you lay all of your problems with a kid's parents on the kids? It's terrible. Corky's a terrible person.
Yeah.
I love her, though. Okay. So the parents are on their tandem bike when the flag on the bike says I Heart Science. So obviously this is
just something they own.
Yeah, Marigold and Norton
get their exercise. It's pretty funny.
It's so cute. They're like arguing about what to do, and they're like, okay, well, let's just go back to the lab. But then they realize that they don't know where they live, so they're lost. Also, we see a tree with like a heart chunk carved out of it. And it says, and then more carving, Norton and Marigold forever.
It's weird how much they carved into this tree, but it's just like, hey, they could have gone and seen this tree and been like, wow, we really are meant to be together.
But they never mention it. They just show that it exists, which I don't understand why. Are we supposed to understand that's from the past? Or is that, they didn't just do that now?
Yeah, they didn't do that now, but it's probably from the past. It's probably when they were first getting together.
Why?
Because that's what people do.
No, why do we have to see that right now?
Because they want to show us that if they had saw it, they would have gotten evidence that they would have been together.
But they never talk about it ever again.
Yeah, they don't need to. There's evidence that they don't talk about like the photo book ever again.
I don't know. That's weird.
I think you're harping on something that doesn't need to be harped on, in my opinion.
I just don't see the point. I feel like some of this movie is just filler.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Eddie finds Norton, but Marigold is missing because they argued trying to get back to the house and they split up. Yeah.
We don't even get to see that argument on screen, which is fine because it's annoying.
And then Norton does some like sick tricks on Eddie's bike.
It's pretty cool.
Sick,
It's pretty flamboyant.
It's flamboyant for sure. And Norton's like, don't you have a girlfriend, Eddie? And Eddie's like, This is the first time you've ever asked me about my social life. What? Oof.
That's what I'm saying. Like, these are stuff the parents should know, like the names of their friends.
Apparently, he's never even asked, like, how's your friends? Do you have a girlfriend? Yeah, how's your social life? I don't know. So that's sad. And Norton is like, that's a bummer. I should be a better dad.
Which is pretty funny. What I gotta say is, like, they always play these moments like it's kind of heartwarming, but it's just sad.
And then Eddie's like, it's okay, like, your work is really important to you. And Norton goes, work schmirk, check this out. He, like, does work tricks.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Yeah. He's pretty rad.
All right, so then we see Marigold. She's at, like, a diner, and she hugs a jukebox. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, jukebox, you understand me or something.
I think she found some music that's actually from her time.
Yeah, probably. And then a teenager sees her, and she's like, oh my god, Mrs. Ballard.
This is Chloe, the mortal enemy.
So she calls her Mrs. Ballard, and Marigold goes like, yeah, right, like that'll ever happen, because that's Jordan's last name. So I thought that was funny. She's like, who are you? And it's like, oh my god, it's me, Chloe. Oh my god. Dun, dun. Marigold starts talking. It's what I wrote. And she's like, I have a friend who's our age, and she's talking about Marie. Oh, but we don't know that. She goes, I have a friend who's our age. And Chloe goes, does her name start with an M? And she's like, oh my god, yeah, it does. How did you?
It's a really silly comment. It's pretty funny.
Why didn't she just say, oh, you mean Marie?
She's trying to keep the anonymity about it.
Yeah. Oh, does her name start with an M? Oh my god, yeah, it does start with an M. That's crazy. Like, what? And Chloe's like, tell me everything about her, because we know that they're mortal enemies. Okay. So then this is when it cuts back to the cook's house, and the cooks are like, look at all this damage. It's dumb. And Corky says that she has a petition that half the neighborhood has already signed, that they need to stop doing their science experiments, or they'll call the authorities and get them evicted.
They should just call the authorities.
They should. If there's property damage, 100% they should call the authorities. But also, can the authorities get them evicted from their house?
For property damage? Yeah, probably.
Damn. Maria's like, no, you can't do that. Not today. She's like, please, just not today. Give me a day, because either her parents are going to be dead or they'll be back to normal, and they can deal with it then. Yep. Just like, literally not today. Yep. That's like pretty much it. Okay, so then we see Marie's friends like hanging out with Chloe. Yeah. If Marie and Chloe are really mortal enemies, why are her friends? I don't think
they're really mortal enemies. I think that's just like a fight that was happening between them because Chloe gossips.
What? So Chloe tells them that Marigold told her that the Urban Slugs are performing at their house later. This is for the audition.
Yeah, and she thinks that means that's a party. Yeah, because sure, that's a band being there.
And Marigold was like, yeah, it's going to be a party. You should come over. It's like some kind of graduation party, which Marigold probably did say because she's 14 right now. And so they're like, let's all invite a ton of people. Chloe's like, you should invite everybody because she's trying to cause drama. She's trying to like destroy their house. I don't know. That's like pretty much the last we see of Chloe. And we're like, oh my gosh, she's trying to stir trouble because they're enemies. I don't know. So then we get more voiceover of Eddie / we see his face in front of the chalkboard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we haven't seen that too many times, but it's back.
And he's like, we have less than 6 hours before Poof Point. Cool, thanks. So Eddie and Norton decided to jam, and they're like playing their guitars, going blah, 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 blah. That's what a guitar sounds like. So they're doing the guitar shit, and if this is real life, it would not sound that like coordinated.
Because they're really good. Cooperate on this.
No. So then Marie comes home and she unplugs them, and Marigold comes home and she plants a big old kiss on Norton. And Marigold's like, I'm going to act like a modern woman like Chloe told me to. And Marie's like, what the fuck? I hate Chloe.
That's literally my mortal enemy. Do you not remember from an hour ago in the movie when I said that's my mortal enemy? She's my mortal enemy.
She's my mortal enemy. And Marigold's like, I love Chloe because she gave me confidence. So Norton will you go steady with me? And Norton goes and hides because he cannot handle that. He cannot handle a modern woman asking him to go steady with her.
Ah, man. Women, am I right?
Women. So yeah, Norton's hiding and he's like, you don't understand how I feel. And Eddie's like, oh my God, I said that yesterday.
It's really kind of weird. You just kind of jinxed me. Oh my.
Yeah. Norton's like, I can't handle all this pressure. And Eddie's like, that's too bad. Being 14 sucks, but you just had to deal with it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much what you would expect.
So Marigold, back to what they're doing, she finds like their old science fair project. It's like a energy ball thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh my gosh, we never got to finish it though because we kept arguing with each other. It was her and Norton that were working on it. So this actually does come back. Yeah. I was surprised that it did. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but yeah.
It's a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. So, okay, Norton's still freaking out. But Eddie's like, all right, we got to sit them down and make them compromise. And I guess it worked because they started doing the science again.
They started helping each other out. And they do a smart thing where they obviously don't know the science well enough because they're 14 mentally. And this is stuff that they were working on. When they were 21, they could understand concepts. Yeah. But when they're 14, they do the really smart thing of they just look between the blueprints and what's actually there to try and figure out what's missing, what's wrong.
Well, before they do that, though, they set up an equation based on the knowledge they do know.
That's true.
And they try the machine again, but then they disappear during the experiment. So Eddie just hits the undo button and they come back.
Which that works apparently.
Yeah, which is crazy. So then I think they're like, let's just try and look at the blueprints. Mm-hmm. It was a good idea. So anyway, now it's 3:00. Oh no, the audition, and there's a bunch of people outside. And Marie's like, Eddie, go get rid of them. It was funny when he opens the door. There's
hundreds of people.
Probably not yet, but at least
there's 132 50. According to.
You're right. Okay, so 100 people, and he opens the door, looks at them, and then just shuts the door.
Also, one of them's holding a very generic pizza box, and that makes me laugh.
Yeah, that's funny. So, Colin comes in, and he's like, what the hell, Colin? Why are these people here? And he's like, I don't know, I guess someone invited them. And Marie comes up, and she's like, what the fuck? It sounds like there's 1 million people outside. And Colin's like, don't worry, it's only 132. I counted. Why?
Pretty funny.
He was just sitting there 1, 2, 3.
He's like, wait, how many people are here? Let's count.
God, I'm curious. And he goes, hey, Marie, you're looking pretty today.
Got him. Got her.
They're flirting. And Marie's like, I have no time to flirt. So Marie's like, there's no party. But they're too bad. We're doing the party anyway. All these people are here. They're gonna do the party, I guess.
Yeah, if you have 132 people outside your house, it's hard to get them away.
Yeah.
Especially if people start flowing in additionals at that.
Yeah. So then the party starts bumping, right?
Jump. The house is jumping.
The house is jumping. And there's an explosion and the whole house shakes. And the kids head downstairs and the parents are like, oh, yep. The problem definitely has something to do with the machine. They're like, cool. So they're like, let's do the blueprint thing. In the back of the party, there's pizza, and the Urban Slugs are playing. And we learned that they only have 2 hours until Poof Point. They made a countdown, and they even wrote countdown to Poof Point. They had time to do that, which I guess the kids probably did while the parents thought about what to do. Marie at one point has to shoo her friends away from the lab, and that's when she finds out that the friends were talking to Chloe. And that's the reason of all this craziness. Where he's like, oh my God.
Chloe did it.
Oh my God, that bitch. And also Colin has a crush on her. Ooh. So there's that.
Yeah, this man, she revealed that you had a crush on Colin. And Colin loved it because he has a crush on you. And they're somehow upset about this.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They do this thing where it's yeah, Colin likes Marie back. But they never go further with it.
No, they don't.
It's just kind of there to be there as a plot. I
think
guess.
Chloe's not that bad.
Oh, it's okay, she invited people to the house, which is a dick.
She thought it was a party.
Well,
but I guess you still should invite to another party.
She was literally talking to Marie's mom.
who said come.
Yeah.
And
so, like, how bad is it actually that she did that when her mom gave permission?
Yeah, no, I think it's fine.
I mean, obviously, it's a weird circumstance where your mom thinks she's 14, but, like...
But she doesn't know that she thought she was 14.
Yeah. I wonder what was going through Chloe's mind. I'm like, I wonder why her mom's acting like this. It's kind of weird, but I'm going to use it to get dirt on Marie. I don't know.
Pretty slay maneuver, I must say.
Don't say slay.
If people stop slaying, I'll stop saying slay.
All right, so now it's time for Eddie's audition. I guess he left his parents. I don't know. They're doing the blueprint thing now. And Eddie is playing bass, which is kind of weird. I feel like we've seen him playing guitar, like
He
regular
plays
guitar.
bass with a band, and we get to hear the band perform.
But why was he practicing on the guitar earlier? Or, well, did he have a bass?
It was bass, but I don't know enough about guitars to really tell you.
I don't know. So they're walking like pretty hard. They're doing a good job, right? And across the street, the cooks are not happy. Like, oh my God, they're throwing a party.
Good thing our Lizzie would never go to a party.
Yeah. Like, let's call the police. Lizzie would never do this. And then you see Lizzie literally running out of her house across the street.
Lizzie's a character we've barely met, by the way.
Literally, all we've seen is her just, like, existing across the street. And Eddie and Marie being like, I wish we were normal. That's literally it. Okay. So then back at the lab, the parents decide that they would rather dance to the music than work.
And because they're gonna die in a few hours.
And Marie's like, please work more, we're running out of time. And the dad's like, let's just give up, we're gonna die anyway. Which they all are very calm about it.
Again, they should be panicked out of their mind, but whatever.
So then Lizzie storms into the house, Lizzie Cook, and she goes up to Marie and she's like, what the heck, Marie? You act like we're such good friends and then you don't even invite me to the party. And Marie's like, I didn't even want this party. It was my mom. And Lizzie was like, also, as if.
She goes like, man, this is such a good friend of mine to hold me off on this. We saw Marie give a photo book of friends to her mom, and Lizzie was not in that group.
None of them were Lizzie, no. So it's like, we're such good friends. Like, literally, Lizzie has not spoken or really has been mentioned at all in this movie. And they're just like, here's this character who's now becoming a bigger character than any of the other friends or Chloe. Mm-hmm. It's so weird because we're like so late into the movie at this point. And they're like, yep, this character exists. Yeah, so Marie's like, my mom did this party. And Lizzie's like, yeah, right. And Marie's like, yeah, really, it was my mom. And Lizzie's like, oh my God, my parents would never let me do this.
They just are so cool.
They just want everything to be so perfect. Like, do you know how sick I am of being perfect? And she yells it and everyone looks. And Marie goes, let me guess. Really sick?
Now get ready for an extremely emo poetry slam line.
Lizzie goes, so sick, I don't think there's a doctor in the world that could cure me. Oh, she definitely writes emo poetry.
No, I think she's gonna be really happy in a couple years when Black Parade comes out and she's gonna have her My Chemical Romance era.
Oh yeah, she's a huge Tumblr girl.
Huge.
So then Marie goes, you can come to the party if you want. And Lizzie's like, all right, cool, thanks. Like, she's already at the party. But yeah. So that was their like touching moment. Okay, I guess Lizzie's a character now. Okay, so then the parents come up and they're like, oh my gosh, Marie, we figured it out. There's a piece missing from the machine. We just need to find it. Oh my God, what piece is it?
Yeah, here's them once again being very close to solving it, but then having hiccups stop them. It's the second time that it's happened.
Yeah, now they're 7 years old. Once I was 7 years old.
Okay, Lucas Graham.
And Eddie finished up his song and they did great. And Marie's like, Eddie, we need to go right now. And the band's like, no.
What?
Why are you pulling him away? Is this what it's going to be like? If you're in the band, you're going to have to be pulled away all the time? And they're like, no. Literally just today. And every other time, he's going to be great. But right now, we need to go. But then, the 7-year-old parents come up and they ruin the vibe.
They bring up the energy ball, right?
Yes. Yeah, she brings up the energy ball thing. That was the science fair project. and it's like flying all over the place and destroying shit. And the dad, Norton, who's, you know, mentally 7, he tries to like hose it down.
Literally with a hose.
With a hose. Where did he
get
that?
Water is not goop, otherwise this would be a goop moment.
Yeah. And everyone just like scatters and they start running because they don't want to get wet. And Eddie chases down the ball with like a tennis racket, but it goes up a dude's shirt first.
This one dude, I want to point this dude out, okay? He's in so many of the party scenes. He is not a character in this film. He doesn't really have any speaking lines other than like, whoa, or anything. And he's just like, kind of like the stoner archetype of a character. And we always basically get to check in on him on the party. Yeah. For some reason, the movie assumes we care about him, even though he's literally not a character.
Yeah, I don't know. He's there, though. And so then the ball flies around, and then Eddie destroys it with the tennis racket. And the parents are like, oh, you killed it? I'm going to tell on you.
And everyone's like, man, your parents are weird.
Your parents are weird. So then they bring the parents into the bathroom, and the kids are like, the Marie and Eddie, I mean, as the kids, they're like, we're your babysitters, we're in charge. And so they put them down in the lab and they threaten a way to take their TV. But Norton's like, I don't even watch TV. And they're like, well, we're going to take away your reading. And they're like, oh, no, I love to read. Because we know these are smart little babies. Yeah. Because they grow up to be scientists. So that one.
If you like to read when you were 7 and you watch TV, I am sorry, but you cannot discover time travel.
Yeah.
That's just the rule.
Sorry about it. So then we see the cooks at the party with the cops. So they did call the cops and they want to kick them out of the neighborhood. Like, you're throwing a party? Get out of my neighborhood.
Like, they thought Marie started the party immediately after giving her the scolding of, man, your parents are awful.
And then she goes, Marie, I'm so disappointed in you. Corky, you are not her parent. I don't know why she's like putting so much pressure on shit. Have you never read
parents like this? Because I have. Whereas people who they assume that since they're a parent of some person, they're a parent of everyone.
Yeah, well, I had, you know, a very overbearing, assistant, knowledgeable coach. I was a knowledgeable. Tell my team, I raised you better than this. Bitch, you did not raise us at all. Because she was disappointed in us for a dumb reason. I won't get into it. But
I want to hear that drama email about it. She'll share it.
I'll tell ya. My mom was pissed. Yeah. Anyway. She says, Marie, I'm so disappointed in you. And Chick is the cook man. He goes, hold on, Corkster. It's not Marie's fault. It's the parents' fault. Corkster. A classic Corkster. And he's like, that's why you would never find our Lizzie here. This is the parents' fault, and we're perfect parents. And then Lizzie comes out. She's at the party, and she goes, hold on now. This place is awesome. Yeah, I am here. This place is awesome.
They're better parents than you.
Yeah, she's like, the party was the mom's idea, and you guys won't even let me have friends over for milk and cookies, which is sad. Yeah. She should be able to have her friends over.
This is why she needs My Chemical Romance. They're only friends, and she needs Tumblr to go discover a whole different society of people who are repressed from the outside world.
So Corky freaks out, and she's like, I want the Ballards evicted. And Lizzie's like, if you do that, you're never talking to me again.
Seems like an empty threat, honestly. How's that going to work?
Yeah, it won't. And then the dad says, hey, Marie, if you disband this party, we'll consider giving you another chance. Again, putting this on Marie.
For some reason. But Marie's like, cool. And we don't want people here.
In the movie, and them are really acting like they hold all of the power. Yeah. Like, we will get you evicted. 100% we will, and have the power to. But if you disband the party today, for like the party today is just so unacceptable, then I'll consider. You
don't want to have walked over there for nothing.
Like, hey, Marie, hey, 14-year-old Marie, disband this party, and I'll consider not evicting you and your family out on the streets.
Yeah, I won't make you homeless.
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
A lot.
They're
named Corky
and Chick. But then Marie's like, I will gladly disband this party. All right, you heard it. You heard that, everybody. Leave. Like, actually worked out good for Marie here. Yeah. All right. So then 7-year-old mental parents are talking about spaceships, and they're like, if you find this missing piece of the machine, we'll let you go on the spaceship, which is the machine. And Norton goes, girls can't go on a spaceship, which is just
sexist.
It's like foreshadowing, but in the past of his sexism. Yeah. Crazy. And so Eddie sends them to look for the piece, and whoever gets it first gets to ride the spaceship first. And we get a
search montage.
Yeah, we had a search montage.
And we see that Eddie searches for the exact spot where we saw it buried earlier in the movie.
And the dog toys. Yeah.
But Einstein took it and moves it to a different location and then moved it back there after Eddie was done. Einstein is like purposely throwing this. We know that he knows that everyone wants it.
Yeah. Marie runs right by the dog, who has it in his mouth.
Yeah, it's off screen. We see the dog leave a room and then Marie enter the room.
Yeah.
And the dog literally has it in the mouth. Einstein has it.
And it's Marie. It's not like, the 7-year-old. It's Marie who knows what this looks like. I guess, though, you're so focused, you're not paying attention to the dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, so then Marie and Eddie are defeated. They have 15 minutes until Poof Point. So they realize that their parents are going to be gone forever. And they're like, you know what really sucks? That we realized through all of this that our parents are really like us.
And now they're going to be dead.
That's not the most devastating part of it. They should be crying hysterically. They should have called someone at this point. It doesn't
make sense for them not to have called anyone. The police were right there. Convict them. Tell them, hey,
my parents are going to die. Please help me.
Top security does not matter when it comes to lives.
Yeah. So then they hear a bang and they run upstairs, and Marigold has spaghetti on her. So I suppose this is goop.
The spaghetti is absolutely a goop.
We don't see it thrown on her. It's just on her.
But it is a comedic effect done by the fact that she got into goop.
Okay. So it's goop. And Norton has toilet paper on him and baby powder.
I argue this is goop.
But it's not a goopy texture. It's just powder.
But it's all the mess and ickiness of goop.
Is it?
Yeah, do you want to be touching that stuff?
It's baby powder.
Well, with all the toilet paper, which I still think the toilet paper was dampened.
I think it was dry toilet paper and dry baby powder.
If someone goes back and watches Poof Point, please let us know how many goop moments there are. I'm going to put in 1.5 because we've been arguing about this.
1.5, okay. 1.5 goop for Poof Point.
And there's other ones where it theoretically could have been a goop moment, but it's not because it's water or fire, which are just not goop substance.
So then we get the voiceover and Eddie says, "This is when you came in. I bet you're wondering how we got here.
That's how we got here.
This is how we got here. With minutes left before Poof Point, we were desperate. So now they have 6 minutes until Poof Point. And they have 6 minutes left, and they took the time to grab popsicles to give to their 2-year-old parents. Mm-hmm. You do not have the time, but I guess they just needed to calm them down somehow. So Marie starts talking.
They don't spill the popsicles.
No, they did a good job, actually. Marie starts talking about how she figured out the science. She's like, oh my gosh, the calculations were wrong because they were for the goldfish and not for the parents. Yeah. So that's why, you said they had a mistake earlier. It wasn't.
Because they were only expecting to work on the goldfish.
Yeah. So they did the mistake. When they did the experiment again to try to fix it, that was wrong because that was for the goldfish. But now she needs to fix it for the parents. Wait, and whatever. I don't know. So she starts doing the math. That's kind of what we hear about it. And I guess it's supposed to be see, she learned a thing about science. She's can relate to her parents.
But it's kind of dumb.
It's dumb.
This movie acts like it earns its emotional beats far more than it actually does earn them.
I feel like this is where I feel the most filler is, oddly enough.
I feel like them as 2-year-olds is the most filler because it's just showing the parents are finally not being useful until it's the fact that what solves the issue.
Yeah.
And what solves the issue, I believe that's the next scene here.
Well, okay. Yeah, so Norton sees the dog, and he's like, doggy.
He's not scared of dogs because it's been
they haven't eaten his thesis paper.
Yeah.
He's 2 years old.
That happened when he was like 20 or something. So the other Nortons probably doesn't hate dogs either, but we don't see Einstein during that entire portion of the movie.
Yeah. So since Einstein is so happy that the dad is giving him attention, he gives him the missing part, like to play fetch.
Yep.
But it's the missing part, and the parents have to fight over it, and Norton throws it, and Eddie and Maria are like, no, and it's all in slow motion. And Einstein leaps and he catches it. He saved it. Good boy.
I think it would have been fine if it fell down.
It honestly probably
seen
would.
It fall from a similar height before.
It probably would have been fine, but he caught it. So now Poof Point is in 3 minutes. So they usher the parents into the machine with difficulty, but they do it. But then Norton goes, I have to go potty.
They should have just not let
This
him.
is the filler. This is the filler I'm talking about. Where it's like, this part is so dumb.
Let him pee himself.
Let him pee himself.
He'll accept it when he's back to being 40.
I'd rather my dad pee himself and live than disappear.
Yep.
Personally. Marie. Oh my God.
She's like, you can't rush him peeing. It's traumatizing for life. I'm like, no. Just
so
he's gonna not have a life. I think that's what Eddie literally says.
Yeah, he says he won't have trauma if he doesn't have a life. They literally said that. That was funny. It's like he doesn't even know how to use the potty, yet they like put him in the bathroom by himself and just hope he figures it out.
He does apparently perfectly fine. I don't get it.
I don't know. It's so dumb. Okay. So then they get him in the machine again and they start typing in the math and they press enter and like literally it's to the last second. The machine starts to spin and Poof Point's imminent, but then it's fine. They don't poof away. They're back to their normal selves. They did it. Hooray. So the parents remember like bits and pieces of what happened in the past 2 days when they were de-aging.
And they're like, man, you guys are kids and we were weird adults.
Yeah. And
suddenly they're better.
And Norton goes, did I make a pee-pee? Anyway, they're all happy to be back. And so they all group hug, and the dad is happy to see Einstein now. And they just are kind of like, yay, we did it. And I wrote down, if I were the kids, I would be crying so hard.
The kids right now cry during this movie, and it's weird.
Like, even like we saved them, I would be like bawling, like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're not dead.
But apparently they just like didn't really care if they died. Because otherwise they would have done so much different.
The way their attitude is just like,
so
what a wacky circumstance we're in. Our parents might disappear forever. Like, oh my God.
It doesn't make sense.
It's terrifying.
It's such a horror film that is played entirely like not seriously. So I don't take this threat seriously at all.
Yeah. Anyway, so now we're in conclusion time.
It's a pretty quick conclusion.
It is. So the kids are talking to the parents and they're like, I'm so proud you figured out the science and you worked together.
You fixed our error.
Yeah. And then we see Eddie playing guitar and the whole family's hanging out and they're like, we like to spend more time together now. And we barbecue and we play music and Norton plays music now. So they're like a better family unit now.
All they needed was some trauma to bond them.
Yep. And then we go back to Eddie in front of the chalkboard and he's like, we even like to time travel now because we fixed the machine. We just came back from 1975 where I played bass with Bob Marley. And he's wearing these fake dreads.
Yep. For some reason, that's how they decide to end the movie.
Yep. And then it says the end on the chalkboard. And that's literally it. Like, that's it. That's the movie.
God, that's an annoying end because why?
I mean, I don't know.
It honestly would have been better if they just were like, they didn't show any of their future time traveling.
This movie wasn't that good.
It was worse than I remembered. I remembered liking... There's a lot of weird stuff to it, and it's never boring, which is important. Boring is the worst thing a movie can be.
Yeah, it's
and this movie's
boring.
Not boring.
It's just kind of dumb.
It's dumb and annoying in a way that's not that interesting, but it's not boring.
I know. A lot of people in the house were like, oh yeah, that movie was good. Like a lot of people actually watched this one with us when we were doing our first marathon. And I always was like, are you sure? Like, I don't think it was.
And I was one person, I had higher hopes for it when we were going to rewatch it here until I watched it. I'm like, it's just kind of annoying.
It's just kind of annoying.
It's definitely
Maybe it's better with a group.
It's definitely not a trash tier movie or anything.
but it's not great.
Yeah. Where did we have these ranked?
I have to find it.
It looks like in the house we had it as the 58th ranked movie. I had it as 59th, so I was pretty accurate to where at the house we had it. And you had it at 85, so a good bit worse.
Yeah, and I think I agree with myself now that I did. I have it. What tier did I have it in? Yeah, I have it in D tier, which I agree with.
I had it in C tier.
Would you move it down?
C tier, maybe to low C tier.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a D tier movie because it's not actively bad to me, but it's not as actively good as I thought I remember.
I'm just not impressed with it, and I don't think it's a movie I would go to and be like, oh, heck yeah, let's watch the Poof Point. It's more like, oh, yep, that's one of the DCOMs. It exists. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like hyped to watch it, you know?
Yeah.
But it does have Where Did the Fish Go?
Where did the fish go?
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird to say I wish this movie went deeper emotionally when that's not the point of the movie. It's supposed to be silly and be like, oh, look at the reversal of the parent-kid roles. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it just didn't really work for me. I didn't find it that amusing. It's, look at these adults act like children. Haha. And that's just not really for me. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, it's just like the emotional beats of this movie, they feel like they expect them to hit and they don't.
They don't.
And that's really where a lot of this comes down to. A lot of the humor in the film is stuff that I'm not super into, but I can understand where they're coming from and why someone might enjoy it. It's not my type of physical comedy. And like, it's more annoying to me, but that's fine. But I feel like there's actually a good concept within this movie that's just not done that well.
They should have had a bigger emotional climax of, I like took my parents for granted. I'm going to miss them. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, but they just never had that. It's more like a bummer. Our parents are going to maybe disappear.
Oh, shoot.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So that's the Poof Point. You ready to spin the wheel for our next movie?
I do. I have something I would like to announce.
Sure.
That I have not talked to you about at all, but I feel like might be worth talking about. So we're gonna spin our movie and we're gonna do a movie for that. But after that one, I have the movie picked out which we're gonna watch.
What?
On March 30th, there's a new DCOM coming out live on Disney Channel. It is called Prom Pact.
On March 30th?
March 30th.
So, oh my gosh, we'll have like a couple days to record and then talk about it.
Assuming that we can fit that in correctly.
If not, it'll be the next one for sure.
If not, it'll be the next one. We will be trying to have that podcast out on, what would it be? April 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a few days after it comes out.
But get yourself hyped if you are interested for a live Disney Channel original movie. The first one that we'll have for our podcast.
I'm so excited. There's going to be a new one. Do you know the premise?
Not really.
We can look into it later.
Yeah, we can look into it off screen, but I figured that would be interesting.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. New DCOM. Let's go. All right. So, but for 2 weeks from now, what movie are we going to watch, Benji? What do you think it's going to be?
You know what I think it's going to be?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
you
said yeah.
No, what am I going to say?
You're going to say Alley Cat Strike.
Oh, I was going to say Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh. I'm going to say Horse Sense.
Okay. Let's spin that wheel.
Spin the wheel. It was so close to Horse Sense, but it's not. It's Invisible Sister.
Sister.
I like that one.
Oh, that's going to be good.
That's a Halloween one, technically.
But it's not really that Halloween-y.
No,
it's
I feel
pretty new one, which is nice.
Yeah, it's good to have a recent one. It's like on Halloween, but like it doesn't. I feel fine watching it not on Halloween. I think when we watched it originally, it wasn't Halloween. So yeah, it's a good Halloween one to have not in October, for sure.
All right. So join us in
2 weeks.
2 weeks from the release date of this episode for Invisible Sister.
Yay.
Take care.
Oh, for social media.
Oh, yeah. Before you take care.
Before we take care, take a look at our social. Really just our TikTok. We're the DCOM duo on TikTok.
It has underscores between the and DCOM and duo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you search the DCOM duo, you'll find us.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we also have our Gmail account where we would love to hear fan mail for anything that you want to say. It's the DCOM duo. That one does not have underscores.
Yeah, the DCOM duo at gmail.com. Just how it is. Also, we're on YouTube. So, you can stream our episodes on YouTube. You can comment.
Yeah. You can, I think, comment on Spotify. I don't actually really know. I think
you can. I think there's like a feature that you can.
And then we're also on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. So, check us out.
Cool.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What do I say? On the next episode.
Scenes from our next episode.
I totally forgot what it was. Scenes for our next episode.
Man, number 1 DCOM himbo. Am I right?
I love the kook.
Oh my god, are these sisters like sisters? And one of them's invisible?
Are you allowed to totally deck opponents in lacrosse if you're invisible? Is that legal?
I feel like that's an assault charge, especially because she's invisible. Just imagine watching someone play lacrosse and just falling over, and then they later find out that someone was invisible playing alongside them.
Imagine you're playing lacrosse and you're running normally, and then all of a sudden get like clotheslined by an invisible arm and you have no idea what happened. That's trauma.